Alright, welcome to today's video. Today's an engine mount video. We are putting the engine mounts in the Blit. So they're a little bit stiffer than stock, but they're not like gonna rattle your change or cause your car to totally rattle. The race ones are great for drifting or guys who just are really super aggressive with their cars and don't mind race car characteristics on the street. So you have to take the cross member out to do that, and at the same time, we're doing polyurethane rack bushings, because we're gonna have the cross member off and it's a good time to change it anyways. So yeah, that's what we're doing. But this makes it much easier. We have an engine support stand here, or engine gearbox support stand. This is the preferred way to do it because you can do it on a hoist. You can have it up and down. All it does is hold the engine up when you take the cross member out, because when you take the cross member out, nothing is holding the engine up anymore. You can do it on the ground with jack stands and a jack and all that, but you're severely limited to the space underneath the car. Makes it quite a bit more difficult. So yeah, we use this thing. Just obviously be careful of your engine cover with the chains and all that. We have a carbon engine cover available at our store. Let's take care of that. The cool thing about doing it this way is the engine stays in the exact same spot. You don't really have to take off any intercooler piping or anything like that. Not that you really should, but yeah, it's just kind of an easier way to do it. Let's go up. Make sure you don't get this. Yeah, so as you can see, our car's in winter mode. We got a bit of snow this year, so we want to do some drifting and drive the JZX through the winter. So we got some Blizzaks and some 370Z rears. And yeah, it's still pretty cool looking, but it's definitely not as low and stuff as it was. But yeah, make sure you don't do this, because that's always good when you pick a wheel and tire too aggressive with snows. Okay, let me take my light. So now this whole thing has to come off, because here are the engine mounts. Engine mount 1, very difficult to remove because of all this turbo stuff. Engine mount 2, also kind of hard to remove because of all this oil filter stuff. This comes down, allowing us to work in here. In order for this to come down, this suspension comes down with it. Take it apart from here, here, here. This comes, and everything comes. So now you can see it's all hanging now. Right now we're taking the outer tie rods off so that we can, the rack itself is going to stay hanging and the cross member is going to come down. So we're going to separate these two bolts. So the knuckle is going to stay, rack's going to stay, the cross member is going to come down. So you have to separate a bunch of things. Yeah, that's what we're doing. Okay, so now we got the rack hanging, tie rods off. We just got to take off the spindle bolts, the damper bolt, and the sway bar. and then the 2 engine mounts, bolts per side on an IS. Some JZXs have 1, some JZXs have 2. This one has 2. There's also maybe some power steering lines attached with little 10 mils, so just take everything off of the cross member, and then you're just going to dump the cross member, and then you'll have the engine hanging to work on. So let's do that. Take your RCAs out. All right.
Is that going over top?
Yeah.
There you go.
That's it.
Okay.
Down. That's an engine mount. It's real nice. Fully busted. Pretty common.
Jeez.
Yeah, so we got to take all these off, which means we have to take that thing off, and it's going to be a big mess because it's going to be oil everywhere. But let's do this side first because it's not as much of a mess. So I don't really know how I did this last time, but I know I did. Okay, so on the right side engine mount, there's one at the top. If you can get that off, easy peasy. It's not the easiest at all to get off. Otherwise, you have to take the entire bracket off, which also is very difficult because the turbo's in the way. So we're going to try to take the nut off itself and hope for the best. Our bracket off, which also is very difficult because the turbo's in the way. So we're going to try to take the nut off itself and hope for the best. All right, so as you can see, I got a little ratcheting guy on there, and this nut is coming off. Easy peasy. All right, so we got the nut out. One down. This guy goes in. It obviously helps if you have multiple like special tools like ratcheting, swivel ratcheting, bent box end, all sorts of stuff. Like the more tools you have, the easier jobs become. Like this, for example. I just gotta tighten that guy with the 22 and get it actually tight. I feel like that's quite tight. I'll be tighter than the old one was. So we got one done. Now comes the hard, messy one. All right. Did I do that? On this side as well, the nut is accessible, but I have an oil filter adapter here, and then like a sandwich plate, and then an oil filter. So you can just take that off and get the nut off, but we're just gonna try it. Yeah, hopefully if we can get the same side, hopefully we can get the same nut off this side, then the engine mounts essentially are pretty much done. So I'm gonna take the engine mount off, or the oil filter, bro. Oil filter easy. Normally is. Alright. This is not something I normally like doing. Alright, so we got this special ratcheting 17mm wrench here. It just so happens to fit in there. So I'm going to put another wrench on here, crack that open, take the nut off, change the engine mount. Bob's your uncle. Hopefully it works. It worked. We're in business. Kevin, eat my poo-poo. Finito! Just tightening it with that same ratcheting 17mm flexi wrench, which is something you should always have in your toolbox. It is. So we're ready to put our crossmember back, ready to put our steering rack back. But what we're gonna do is change out this squishy stock stuff for this polyurethane aftermarket stuff. These guys simply just get pushed out. These guys get pushed in. It's not too difficult, so we're gonna do that. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're just gonna take this bolt that's a bit tall and it's got a washer to push on the inside. Take these pliers and then basically just push it out. Make sure you grab the edge there. And you should be able to just push it out. And then you just kind of pull it out. I mean, we'll probably put something else on top of that that's a bit longer. That's pretty stuck in there now. You can see the stock ones are fairly soft, and you just kind of yank them out like that. Okay. All right. So to put the new ones in, just put a tiny bit of grease on the flange. We're going to take a clamp, and hopefully this works. Okay, let's try the other way. Okay, let's try bushing on that side. So the grease now will have to be wicked side. Now obviously it's gonna bottom out at some point. And you won't have it all the way through. Let's see if we can pull it through with this guy. There we go. Check it out. Ow. Okay, there you go. He's in. Woo! And basically just repeat the same thing for the next one. Use lots of grease when you're trying to put this guy in, because it's you don't want to rip the bushing. Yeah. Alright, so if you can get a clamp that has a hole in it, you can go like this to locate the bushing. And that's a lot better than not locating the bushing. Located the bushing. Clamp it up. Bing, bam, boom. Try to get it going straight, that'd be great. There we go. That's it. You like that, like crowning thing where it comes through? Okay, so now all right, so now we cut the old one off. And the new one has a spot where you cut it. So we're gonna do that on the bench so I don't cut my finger open. Okay, so yeah, this one you just slit it, slip it over, get this guy ready. Make sure you put it on the right way. It's upside down because it has the holder for the steering line, and then we're gonna put it back up. so we got the cross member up into position now. Everything's on here loosely. So all we have to do now is basically put everything back as far as the cross member goes. After that, we're gonna put the steering rack back, make sure everything's tight, give everything a once over, and take it for a drive. That's it, eh? Just big bam boom, you're done. All right, so the steering rack is in now, the cross member is in now, all the nuts are tight for the cross member and the engine mounts. The only thing left is to put this lower brace on and put the outer tie rods and your RCAs back on. 83 foot-pounds on those guys. I mean, you really should get an alignment after doing this stuff. I just did an alignment. I don't really want to get another one, so we'll see how it goes. We shall see, my friend. My friend. My friend, hey? My friend. You're probably wondering why I'm going around so many times. Remember how it was so hard to take the wheel off? Because I have these hub-centric rings that are like really tight. So I have to like go all the way around. For my race car, like I'm absolutely gonna have to have a JZ in somewhere in my life. And it's probably gonna be this thing, you know?
Right.
That's how I, because I could forego the JZ in the race car, but like, it honestly hasn't been that often that I've had like a modified JZ as a daily driver. Like, I had the Verossa for like a year and a half, but it was completely stock and automatic. So like,
Yellow car, bro.
the yellow car, I mean now, I do that.
Well, I mean, the Aristo, when you got the Aristo.
Yeah, but I mean honestly, when I had all those cars, none of them were like fucking crazy. Like I kind of feel like the Blit, even though it doesn't like look that, what's that? It doesn't like look that crazy. It's like kind of pretty crazy. Like any street car with like a fucking ORC clutch is like some sort of crazy. You know what I mean? So we got our engine mounts in. As you can see, after I revved it, there's no more movement. Like the old ones, even at idle, when you just free revved it, it would have a bunch of movement, similar to like an SR. These ones are still stiffer than stock. You do feel them, but they're not crazy stiff. So they will transmit the torque better through the drivetrain, and it will be easier to do like clutch work and traffic and stuff like that. But you will feel some more NVH, you know, vibrations from the motor. Luckily, the JZs are inherently really smooth. Yeah, I mean, a few other things we had to deal with today. The fact that it's an old car, I put a new starter in. You know, worked on the battery terminals a bit. Did some sway bar bushings. What else did I do? But yeah, main thing, I'm pretty stoked. The rack is gonna be really nice to drive. Obviously, the sway bar bushings are gonna help as well. And a nice starter that isn't gonna leave me stranded is good too. So, yeah, all in all, a little bit of maintenance, a little bit of upgrades. I mean, maintenance really should always kind of come first or at the same time. There's no sense having nice shiny parts on your car if it doesn't actually work properly to start with. So, yeah, maintenance. Okay, so this was the engine mount video. We have a few things left to do. We have turbo upgrade, injectors, we have brakes, and what was the last thing? Knuckles. So I'm not sure what's next, but we're gonna go through one of those through to 3 things, and probably maybe put the car back to summer mode fairly soon here. So it's gonna be nice and low again with the works on, and we're gonna see how we can get some more angle out of the car with the AK-49s, some more power out of the car with the the Spectrum Motorsports Turbo, and what was the other thing? I don't know. Yeah, stay tuned.